Hello everyone, for this lesson I'll show you the slope-intercept form. Alright, let's take a look at this line here on the coordinate plane. What I want to do is pick 2 points off of the line, okay? So I'm going to pick this point here, and the coordinates of that point is 1, 3. Okay? And then I'm going to pick the point right where the axes meet, right, the origin, so that's 0, 0. Okay, so we have these 2 points, and if you recall from the last lesson, right, we can think of this as the rate of change, right, the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so the change in y, if you recall, was 3, right, because you go up 3, and the change in x was 1. So the rate of change, right, for this line is 3 over 1, okay, or just 3. Right, now we have another name for it, and that is also called the slope. Okay, so that's the slope. Right, and we have a special formula for it, and it's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Alright, so let's label our points here, right? The first point here, I'll label it x1, y1, right? And I'll call this point, the second point here, x2, y2. Okay, so now we can use this formula and replace the y2, y1, x2, and x1 with the known values here, right? So y2 is 0 right here, right? So let's plug that in. And y1 is 3. Okay, and x2 is 0. Right, minus x1 is 1. So if we do this out, we're going to get negative 3 over negative 1. But we know that's just positive 3 over 1, or just 3, right? Because the negative over negative is a positive. So that's the slope, right? And we call that the rate of change before. But that is now called the slope, okay? It's also known as the slope. Alright, now let's take a look at the same one, right, the same line that we have. But now I want to write an equation for this line, alright? So we have to use the slope-intercept formula, right? And that's y equals mx plus b, right? And b is the y-intercept, right? It's where the line crosses the y-axis. And m is the slope, right, or the rate of change, right? So here we found the slope to be 3, right? So let's replace that, right? The slope was 3, right? And the y-intercept, it's where the line crosses the y-axis. In this case, it's at 0, so you can plug that in for b, right? So that's 0, right? So our equation is now y equals 3x, right? Because our slope is 3, plus b, but b is 0 in this case, right? So our final equation is just y equals 3x. Okay? Alright, let's take a look at a different line. Let's say we have this line here, and I already picked out the 2 points. I picked negative 1, 2, and I labeled it x1, y1, right, the blue point. And another point I picked was 3 and negative 2, right, and I labeled it x2, y2. So those are the 2 points off the line that I picked. And I want to find the slope of the line, right? I'm going to use the slope formula, which I wrote down here, okay? It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So using the slope formula, I will write down oops, black. Okay, it's equal to y2. Now y2 is the negative 2, right? So let's replace that, negative 2, right? Minus the y1, and y1 is 2, okay? Divided by x2, but x2 is 3, so let's plug that in there, minus the x1, which is negative 1. Okay, so let's do out the math here. We have negative 2 minus 2, so that's going to be negative 4 for the numerator, right? And 3 minus a negative, so that changes to a plus, right? So 3 plus 1 is 4. So my slope is just negative 1. Okay, that's my m. Right? So now if I want to write an equation for it, I will have to use the slope-intercept formula. So let me rewrite that one more time, right? It's y equals mx plus b. But we found m to be negative 1, right? So we're going to plug that in for m, right? So this m here, it's negative 1. So that's, we're going to replace the m of this formula here. So it's going to be negative 1 there, right? And the y goes there, the x you just bring down, so it's negative 1 times x plus the b. Alright? So the b, if you look at the line, it's at 1, that's where it's where the line crosses the y-axis. But you can also get it by using this slope-intercept formula, alright? And I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so what we want to do is try to get the b. Right? In order to do that, just pick one point off the line. Right? So I'll pick this point here. Right? I'm going to use this point, negative 1, 2, right? The x1, y1. So what I want to do is rewrite this equation here, right? So y is equal to negative 1x plus b, right? We don't know what the b is, right? Let's try to figure it out. So the y, right? This y here, it's 2. So I'm going to replace that with 2. Right? The negative 1 is the slope, we'll leave that the same. And then the x is negative 1. Right? And the unknown in this case is b. I mean, you can tell from the graph, but let's pretend we don't know it. Right? So now let's do out the math. We have 2 here, and negative 1 times negative 1, that's a 1, and plus the b. Right? And this one-step equation, all you have to do is minus 1 to both sides. And this will come out to 1 equals b. Right? So the y-intercept is 1. And that's the b. Right? And it's confirmed by the line here. Where does the line cross the y-axis? Well, if you look at it, it's at this point here. Right? And that's your y-intercept. It's at 0, 1. Okay, so the y-intercept is at 1. And it's right here, b equals 1. Right? So now we can rewrite our final equation with that known information. Right? So make some space here. So our final equation, all you have to do is rewrite this thing over again. Right? But replacing the b. So let me put it right here. So it's going to be y equals negative 1x, right? Or negative x plus 1. Alright? And that's our equation for our line here. Okay? And we're done, and we're pretty happy. Alright, let's take a look at different cases of m. Let's say your equation is y equals 2x plus 1, right? And if I were to graph it on the coordinate plane, right, since the y-intercept is at 1, I'm going to start at 1. And my slope is 2 over 1, right, or just 2. But it makes it easy if you write into a fraction. So you know you're going to go to the right 1 unit and up 2 units from your initial point. So 1 over up 2, right? And then from there, you can make your line, okay? Here's my line, right? And okay, and if you notice, if it's a positive slope, going from left to right, you're going up a hill, right? So if this were you, right, you're going up a hill, right? Now let's take a look at a different scenario, right? Let's say y is equal to negative 3x plus 2, right? So here you're going to start at 2, right? That's your y-intercept. And you can put 1 underneath the negative 3 if that helps, right? So in this case, you're going to go over 1, right? Because the denominator is 1. And then you're going to go down 3. So over 1, down 3, right? And you can do that one more time. Over 1, down 3. Alright? And now we can graph the line, right? By connecting the dots. And there we go. Right? It's a little off me. Try a little bit better here. Yeah, that's a little bit better, right? So that's our line here. Right? So this tells you if you have a negative slope, right? When m is negative, right? This is your m. That's your slope. If that's negative, your line will go down from left to right, right? So if this were you, you're falling down pretty fast, okay? You go in that direction, okay? And what about, let's say you have y equals just a number, right? So the x, the mx, right? The m is 0, so it makes the mx term disappear. So you just be left with y equals 5, for instance, right? So what would that look like, right? So now we plot up the line. So we plot that point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a dot there, right? And guess what? It's just a horizontal line, okay? And there it is. Alright? So if it's y equals to a number where the slope is 0, that's just a horizontal line, okay? And the last scenario, right, or the last case here, let's say x is equal to a number. Let's say x is equal to 3, for instance. And in that case, you go on the x-axis, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, make a dot there, and guess what? It's going to be a vertical line at 3. Okay? Actually, let me do a little bit better here. Straight down from 3, right? And let's make little arrows here. So it's a vertical line. And in that case, the slope is actually undefined. So the slope is undefined for any vertical line, okay? So those are the 4 cases that I want you to pay attention to. And make sure you understand how the line is depicted for each case, okay? And we're done. And we're happy.